the American Forces Network Europe presents Countdown 25. A silver replay of the best of AFN's 25 years on the air. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Countdown 25, a special series devoted to recalling the sounds of the past quarter century. The sounds of music, the sounds of comedy, the sounds of drama and of history. The sounds broadcast to Europe by AFN Europe these past 25 years. Tonight, another year from AFN's Sound Scrapbook.
This evening, we recall the year that began for AFN on the 4th of July in 1964.
Good job. Now, look. The governor hasn't had a chance to talk. He's been up here 10 minutes, and he hasn't had a chance to talk for about 4 minutes. The chairman of the Resolutions Committee has yielded him additional time to finish his statement. I respectfully request that you remain silent and give him attention. These elements have called President Eisenhower, and I quote, a dedicated, conscious agent of the communist conspiracy. And they have labeled the great Republican Secretary of State, the late John Foster Dulles, a communist agent. There is no place in the Republican Party for such hawkers of hate, such purveyors of prejudice.
The voice of Nelson Rockefeller as he spoke to the Republican Convention in San Francisco soon after AFN entered its 22nd year of broadcasting. Delegates tried to drown him out, but Rockefeller finally succeeded in making his point about and against extremism. Yet while he won that battle, he lost the war, and Barry Goldwater was selected by the Republicans as their candidate for President of the United States. The voice of former Vice President Richard Nixon.
I could introduce this man tonight as I know him. A friend, a neighbor, a good man. A man of great integrity, of courage. One who loves his country and will serve it well. But I present him to you tonight simply in this way. He is the man who earned and proudly carries the title of Mr. Conservative. He is the man who, by the action of this convention, is now Mr. Republican. And he is the man who, after the greatest campaign in history, will be Mr. President. Barry Goldwater.
Yes, 1964 was an election year, and AFN's American Forces audience in Europe once again could closely follow the political developments back home by tuning in on their network. And soon after the network relayed the news that the grand old party was running Goldwater and William Miller, attention was focused on the Democratic Convention in Chicago. Lyndon Baines Johnson was out to win his first and own full term in the White House. First, he won the nomination.
Chairman McCormick, my fellow Americans, I accept your nomination. I accept the duty of leading this party to victory this year.
Delegates chose as Johnson's running mate Minnesota Senator Hubert Humphrey.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, my fellow Democrats, my fellow Americans, I proudly and humbly accept your nomination.
And while all the candidates began to fight in earnest to muster votes, a young singer from England was mustering new fans in America. The singer's name was Petula Clark, and the song that rocketed her to musical stardom was titled Downtown.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown. When you've got worries, all the noise and the hurry seems to help, I know. Downtown, just listen to the music of the traffic in the city. Linger on the sidewalk where the neon signs are pretty. How can you lose? The lights are much brighter there. You can't forget all your troubles, forget all your cares, so go downtown. Things will be great when you're downtown. No finer place for sure. Downtown, everything's waiting for you. Downtown. Don't hang around and let your problems surround you. There are movie shows downtown. Maybe you know some little places to go to where they never close. Downtown, just listen to the rhythm of a gentle bossa nova. You'll be dancing with them too before the night is over. Happy again. The lights are much brighter there. You can't forget all your troubles, forget all your cares, so go downtown, where all the lights are bright. Downtown, waiting for you tonight. Downtown, you're gonna be alright now. Downtown, and you may find somebody kind to help and understand you. Someone who is just like you and needs a gentle hand to guide them along. So maybe I'll see you there. We can't forget all our troubles, forget all our cares, so go downtown. Things will be great when you're downtown. Don't wait a minute more. Downtown, everything's waiting for you. Downtown,
Another female vocalist hit the AFN hit charts in 1964. With the James Bond craze continuing in high gear, Shirley Bassey recorded the title tune from the picture
Goldfinger. He's the man with the Midas touch. A spider's touch. Such a cold finger beckons you to enter his web of sin. But don't go in. Golden words he will pour in your ear, but his lies can't disguise what you feel. A golden girl knows when he's kissed her, it's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is cold. It's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of his heart of gold. This heart is cold. He loves only gold. Only gold. He loves gold. He loves only gold. Only gold. He loves
During AFN's 22nd year on the air, the wide assortment of music offered by the network gave way for a few minutes every day to comedian George Gobel, whose daily morning show was a must for most listeners.
You know, I'm an ichthyologist, and I bet you could tell that the very first time you looked at me because, well, you probably turned to your companion and said, "There's that George Gobel. He's an ichthyologist." And then your companion probably said, "Well, I think anybody should be entitled to his own religion just so long as it doesn't involve making human sacrifices." Well, now, let me say first off that you pick some companions who just aren't the brightest people in the world. You've got to. You see, ichthyology doesn't have anything at all to do with religion. It's a study of fish. And I just happen to know more about the flat-headed grouper than anybody else in the Pacific Coast and mountain states, not to mention southwestern Wisconsin. In fact, among fish lovers, I am generally known as George Gobel, the flat-headed grouper man. And I'll tell you, that's a title that causes me to hold my head erect and wiggle my dorsal fins. You see, most people don't know anything about flat-headed groupers at all, and the most common mistake they make is in thinking that the flat-headed grouper is flat-headed. See, actually, it was discovered and classified by a fellow named Flat-Headed Gruber, who named the fish after himself, and he was the one who was flat-headed. Actually, the fish isn't flat-headed at all. In fact, it bears a striking resemblance to Warren Hull. And believe you me, that causes Warren no little embarrassment when he does his show from an aquarium. I mean, how would you like it if people were always... Well, you know... But, of course, I suppose it's only fair to tell you that the flat-headed grouper is not what you call a nice fish. He's not a nice fish at all. For one thing, like he goes around hatching the eggs of other fish, and then he gets mad as the dickens when the little ones don't turn out to be flat-headed groupers. And he's also pretty much of a mystery to fishermen because, see, he won't bite at any of the conventional types of bait. I mean, you can dangle a worm right in front of a flat-headed grouper's face and you won't get anything out of him but a knowing smile. Matter of fact, the only thing that will make him come to the surface is a Sal Mineo recording. You start playing one of them near any lake and groupers will come from miles away to listen and stamp their fins and whistle. I hear there's a big grouper run on right now at a lake that's not too far from here, so I got my hip boots and my record player all packed up and I'm ready to leave. Until next time, then, this is your old friend Lonesome George departing with this thought. If you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. But don't expect to win any popularity contests among the mice. So long, neighbors.
Another popular program on the AFN schedule in 1964 was hosted by those proverbial favorites, Bob and Ray.
And welcome to the Armed Forces Amateur Hour. This is Sergeant Ben Royster, and we have several candidates for the Drill Talent Award here with us today. And our first candidate is Private First Class Casper Gaston. Step up, Private, and tell us what outfit you're with.
Well, I'm with the 93rd Camouflage Division. I've got a 10-day pass, and I'm not due back in Memphis till Thursday.
I didn't know the 93rd Camouflage was still in Memphis.
Well, people have trouble locating the base. As a matter of fact, I hope I can find it.
Well, I'm sure you will, Private. Now, what special talent do you bring to our Armed Forces microphone today?
Well, I can imitate people pretty well.
Imitate famous people?
Well, you see, I have to be around them in order to do a good job. Right now, all I can do is imitate the crowd at the PX at the 93rd Camouflage in Memphis.
Well, good enough. Now, Private First Class Casper Gaston in an imitation of the crowd at his PX. You're on, Casper.
What did you have, big boy? Did you get to disassemble the M1 today, Johnny?
Pete, look what's in my malt.
Burn one.
Very good. Private First Class Casper Gaston, your name is going on the list.
Well, thank you very much, Sergeant.
Not at all, Private. Well done. And now, our next Drill Talent Award hopeful is Technical Sergeant Abel Stone. What do you do, Abel?
Well, I dance on a xylophone.
Oh, you tap out a tune, do you?
Well, not yet. I just uncovered the talent. I'm still in the process of perfecting it, though.
Is there a special tune you're practicing up on?
Yes, it's a thing from the student prince. I'm not sure of the name of it, though.
Well, let's hear it anyway. That's what we're here for, and you too. Now, Technical Sergeant Abel Stone tapping out a tune from the student prince atop his xylophone. Go, Abel.
That's about it.
All right, good tune, Sergeant. The melodic theme showed up very nicely there. Will you be free for the Drill Talent Award finals on December 7th?
I think I can swing it.
All right, we'll see you then, Abel. And here's our final guest on today's edition of the Armed Forces Amateur Hour, WAC Major Corinne Fick. Major, would you tell us what outfit you're with?
I'm a nurse attached to the 110th Sick and Wounded.
I believe that outfit is at Saranac Lake, is it, New York?
No, we're stationed in Cleveland proper.
Oh, I see. Well, Major, what are you going to do for us for our Armed Forces Talent microphone show?
Well, I can whistle 2 tunes at once.
Well, that's not good, an unusual talent. Let's hear now from WAC Major Corinne Fick.
Here I go.
WAC Major Corinne Fick. The crowd liked you, and will you be free for the finals December 7th?
I'll be in Iceland then.
Well, thanks again anyway. WAC Major Corinne Fick. And now this is Sergeant Ben Royster, closing today's edition of the Armed Forces Amateur Hour.
AFN brought back to the airwaves its popular Stick Buddy Jamboree program during its 22nd year of broadcasting. And one of the most requested songs on that show that year, as well as every other AFN request show, was this number by
2 hours of pushing broom buys 8 to 12.
In the United States, the political campaigning was reaching a fever pitch as both Lyndon Johnson and Barry Goldwater were trotting the campaign trail.
He asks for a mandate. He wants total trust, total love, total power over your total life. If you want to junk all we've done for 20 years trying to preserve the peace of the world, if you want to see bipartisanship go down the drain and flush out of existence, then you ignore my warning. If you ever hear me quoted in this campaign saying soothing and comforting words about how wonderful everything is in the world and how secure the peace is and how strongly and firmly we stand as the leaders of freedom, look again, because somebody will be kidding you.
My political philosophy is that I am a free man first and that I am an American second. I'm a public servant third and a Democrat fourth, and in that order. I always put my country before my party.
If you want a president who will cover up corruption, you have him in the White House now.
In early November of 1964, Americans went to the polls and handed Lyndon Johnson one of the most lopsided victories ever recorded in America. Mr. Conservative had been soundly defeated.
Congratulations on your victory. I will help you in any way that I can toward achieving a growing and better America and a secure and dignified peace. The role of the Republican Party will remain in that temper, but it also remains the party of opposition when opposition is called for. There is much to be done with Vietnam, Cuba, the problem of law and order in this country, and a productive economy. Communism remains our number one obstacle to peace, and I know that all Americans will join with you in honest solutions to these problems.
Then, in early January of 1965, President Johnson was administered the oath of office for a full 4-year term as America's chief executive. It was less than 14 months since he had first taken that oath aboard Air Force One in Dallas, Texas, after learning of the assassination of President Kennedy.
Baines Johnson, do solemnly swear.
I, Lyndon Baines Johnson, do solemnly swear.
That you will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of the Presidency of the United States.
The office of the Presidency of the United States.
And will, to the best of your ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
You are listening to Countdown 25, a sound review of AFN's 22nd year of broadcasting, as the American Forces Network Europe approaches the conclusion of its 25th year on the air. Politics aside, there were several significant developments both in the United States and around the world that kept AFN newsmen busy from July 1964 to that same month in 1965. There was news, for instance, from the Civil Rights Front in the U.S. News in early summer of '64 that 3 civil rights workers had been shot to death near Philadelphia, Mississippi. And soon thereafter, there was news of a prediction by civil rights leader Martin Luther King.
We have aired our grievances for the past 2 years without any relief whatsoever. We are preparing for a long, hot summer, and certainly we intend for it to be a long, non-violently hot summer. And we see our push here in St. Augustine as a purifying prelude.
Seeking to head off a long, hot summer and to destroy what was being referred to as second-class citizenship, the U.S. Congress passed the Civil Rights Bill of 1964. The favorable vote was 71 to 29, prompting these words from President Johnson.
The purpose of this law is simple. It does not restrict the freedom of any American so long as he respects the rights of others. It does not give special treatment to any citizen. It does say the only limit to a man's hope for happiness and for the future of his children shall be his own ability. It does say that there are those who are equal before God shall now also be equal in the polling booths, in the classrooms, in the factories, and in hotels and restaurants and movie theaters and other places that provide service to the public.
AFN's listeners also closely followed the burgeoning problematic situation in Vietnam. On August 4th, 1964, U.S. planes bombed North Vietnamese bases and patrol boats for the first time, the raid coming in retaliation against North Vietnamese attacks on U.S. destroyers in the Gulf of Tonkin. 6 months later, American planes began regular bombing runs against the North, and President Johnson announced that American manpower in Vietnam would be increased to 125,000 men.
Our manpower needs there are increasing and will continue to do so. We have some 60,000 odd people there now, and they're landing each day. There's some 75,000 that will be there very shortly. Whatever is required, I'm sure will be supplied.
The president also found it necessary to raise the draft quotas.
We did not choose to be the guardians at the gate, but there is no one else. Nor would surrender in Vietnam bring peace, because we learned from Hitler at Munich that success only feeds the appetite of aggression. This will make it necessary to increase our active fighting forces by raising the monthly draft call from 17,000 over a period of time to 35,000 per month, and for us to step up our campaign for voluntary enlistment.
In the midst of it all, the one-time friend of the president and former secretary to the Senate majority was accused of embezzling. But Bobby Baker refused to talk to investigators.
Today's proceedings are an unconstitutional invasion by the legislative branch into the proper function of the judiciary. I do not intend to participate as a defendant witness in a legislative trial of myself where there are no rules of evidence, when my counsel has no right to cross-examine my accusers or summon witnesses in my defense, when no charges have been furnished to me, and when the testimony has been taken both in secret and in the open. My privacy of communication has been invaded by agents of government. Until I ascertain the extent of this invasion, I shall refuse to provide any additional information to any agents of government. Against the background which I have outlined, I fear that the documents called for will be used to incriminate me. Therefore, on the advice of counsel, I invoke the protection of the First, the Fourth, the Fifth, and the Sixth Amendments of the Constitution, and I specifically invoke the privilege against self-incrimination.
Two other significant developments occurred during AFN's 22nd year on the air. On October 14, 1964, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev was ousted from his post and from his position as Soviet Communist Party chief. Alexei N. Kosygin replaced him as premier, and Leonid I. Brezhnev took over the party leadership. Again, President Johnson commented,
There has been discontent and strain and failure, both within the Soviet Union and within the communist bloc as a whole. All of this has been evident for all of us to see. These troubles are not the creation of one man. They will not end with his removal.
And on April 28, 1965, U.S. military forces were sent to the Dominican Republic, where they would protect U.S. citizens and prevent a communist revolution.